everybody. I'm glad our last few people in made it. Um, because we're going to be talking about grounding tonight, especially finding a little bit of quiet if you can is definitely preferable. We're going to be talking about grounding and shielding. Now, when we're talking about grounding, we're going to have to talk about how to do it versus actually doing it, because it's really difficult to do while you're listening to somebody. So we're going to go over some of the things you may feel, some of the things you might experience while doing that. The first time I did it personally was on accident, and it surprised me in a good way. It's a really, really good feeling. But the part, and we want to touch on blessings here briefly too. The way a blessing works is, and a lot of people when you hear that word, you think of it as a religious term. It's really a sense of safety, a sense of security, and a sense of love. I mean, we're all in here because we want to self-improve, we want to become more aware, and you can use that to find inspiration in each other. I mean, look how many people you have right now in this room that want to be stronger for the sake of themselves and the sake of those around them. Even this particular lesson is all about making yourself stronger, and that's inspiring. And it's okay to find, and preferable to find, inspiration in that, in the strength of you and those around you, and that's a blessing in itself. That's what's going to make us safe and untouchable while we do this. Just take a minute, get into that really, really calm sense of security. Nothing's going to happen to you here, nothing can happen to you here. This particular lesson is all about just listening to yourself and feeling. I'm gonna, while we're talking about blessings, just this was also in part of the lesson, we're gonna talk about blessing of heirlooms and things like that. And this is, again, it sounds a lot more religious than it actually is. If you have like a piece of jewelry or some kind of ornament or a family heirloom that's been passed down through your family, you get this sense of security from that. That's a blessed item. And it happens even on accident. It's just, if it's in your family, it's connected to you. There's already the energy of all your family members, the ones before you and the one before you and before them. And it all is around that item. And that's what makes that special. And as Jenna Claire just said, or something you feel gives you luck, that's the same thing. Getting a feeling from wearing a necklace that was your mom's, or having a pocket watch that was your father's, for you men in the room, that feels special to you. And there's a reason it does, and it's not just sentimentality. And you find inspiration in that, feeling that something in your hand that somebody you loved and somebody who loved you held or touched every day and poured their own energy into. That's a blessing because they've imbued their energy into that without even thinking. That's what it is to be human. And it's not, it's a spiritual practice, but it's not something that you have to be religious to do. That's just human. It's not even necessarily special, except that it's all emotion, and that's what's special. And again, it's because you're human. And it's good to feel that. I would encourage any of you with children, or if you're going to have children, to pass things on to them. Teach them the same thing, that brings them comfort. Okay? We all good on blessings. It's a really, really small thing, but it can bring you a lot of comfort and a lot of safety. It's kind of that same reason when you're a little kid and you get a weird feeling in the dark and you're scared, you reach for a stuffed animal. It's not necessarily that you're clutching something that's made of fur and plush. It's that you're holding on to something given to you by somebody who loved you very much. And that's what you're feeling, and that's that comfort. So any questions on blessings before we move on? Alright, we're going to move on to grounding, and this is going to take a bit longer. Grounding is another thing that's completely natural. It's something we all do. We all do it in our sleep. We all have that times when somebody can come into our room, be completely quiet, and it still wakes us up. And it's just us sensing them. And I really want to stress here that every human does this, because a lot of us have been doing things like this our entire lives, not knowing what it was, not even registering that that's what it was we were experiencing. And it's kind of cool, to be honest. Grounding is, it's a method of reconnecting yourself with everything around you. Everything in the world has energy, even inanimate objects. It's kind of like matter, where it can't be completely destroyed or created. It's just a matter of a flow of everything. And grounding is a way to reconnect yourself with that. And it feels pretty amazing, actually. I've never come off a grounding session and felt stressed. It's kind of like meditating, but it's a lot lighter than that, a lot less time. It's just the only thing you're trying to do. It's not even necessarily that you're trying to calm yourself. It's just relinking in with everything around you. You kind of need to get to a really, really quiet place. Get to where you can think and hear yourself. And I know in today's world that's kind of hard to find, but that will do wonders. You just sit down, just feel yourself breathe for a little bit. And a lot of times it will happen on accident just by focusing on feeling. A good way to start if you're having a hard time connecting to yourself is just, like I said, matter can't be created or destroyed, correct? So everything you touch, everything around you, has been a part of this world and a part of the earth for as long as the earth has existed. Millions and millions of years. The matter, if you're in your bedroom, the matter that's made into your bed comforter and the walls, okay, they're inanimate objects. You're not around nature. Some people find it's better to be around nature, but even everything man-made came from a type of matter that was part of this world for years and years and years. And that's what gets you in that mood, because you're thinking about how everything around you has been here for as old as the earth is, including in that line of thinking yourself. In one form or another, the energy that you have, the matter used to make up your body has been here. And that's how you kind of reconnect to all that. So you just sit, you just think about what it feels like to be a part of everything. And that's what it is when you ground. It's kind of like swimming in a stream of everything. I don't know how else to explain it. You may find your first time doing it, okay? You might jolt yourself out of it on accident because it might feel weird at first. A lot of people experience feelings of some of their limbs seeming to go numb. They'll stop feeling particular muscles in their body, or they'll start feeling everything at once. And if you're particularly taking notice of that, sometimes it can snap you out of your focus a little bit, but just fall right back into it. Jenna Clear just said some people find it easier to picture themselves as a tree and your feet are the roots. And that's true. Part of anything you do, even of a spiritual nature, has to do with, you'll hear this a lot, it has to do with visualizing what you want and having the intent. So picturing yourself in a situation like that where you're a tree and your feet are the roots is a good way to keep your mind along the same path that your soul and heart is already taking. That's where a lot of people trip up, is they get caught up on the logic that their mind wants to argue. Just visualize it, intend it. A lot of people, you can ground anywhere, okay? And I want to stress this too. Some people find it easier in nature because you're around a lot of living energy that you can feel when you ground. Some people like to do it in their bedroom because that's their space and they feel safe and calm there a lot easier. Some people really like to ground in the shower under the flow of water. Um, and that can feel pretty interesting as well when you're feeling that water kind of wash over you as you're feeling all the energy. And it's important, you don't want to mess with any of it, you don't want to try manipulating any of it, including your own, you're just becoming a part of it, kind of re-linking in with the rest of the universe. And it's really, really calming, and you don't have to work for it to be calming. I would also suggest that if you're going to get in the habit of doing this, to do it often. This, again, you have to be aware this is likely to increase your self-awareness once you start doing this. Because it trains your body to start paying attention to energy more often. So, for instance, you're not as experienced in dealing with things like seeing spirits or sensing emotions if you don't find it's as easy for you to be empathic. That may increase if you're grounding more often, because your body will start to naturally try and do that on its own. So that's just, and it's nothing to be afraid of. You have nothing to be worried about. Nothing can harm you unless you allow it to. Nothing that is completely safe. But if you haven't experienced that before, it can be overwhelming at first. Okay? Grounding can take anywhere, however long. It can take 30 minutes, it can take an hour and a half. And a lot of times you don't know when you're done or not. Usually, no, you didn't ask the question, Panda, sorry. Usually your body will tell you when you've gotten to a place where you're completely calm and relaxed and breathing and kind of forgotten where you are in the world and stuff. That's, you've already grounded, and you can stop anytime after that. But sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So it's a good feeling. You never have to leave. I wouldn't suggest you stay in it forever, but it's really, really healthy. It's good for your soul. Okay. Spirit Panda, you had a question. It's, yeah, Breathing Spirits just asked if the energy in your immediate surrounding feels disturbed, should you try to ground there anyway, or is it a bad idea? Okay, if you are having a feeling or a notion that wherever you are has some kind of bad connotation to it, if it makes you uncomfortable, then that's not a good place to ground. Even if it were just for the sake that it's making you uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to get into that feeling, because that's going to be distracting, it's going to make you nervous, and it's going to keep you from doing what you need to do. Also, because you're grounding and you're increasing your awareness, there's a good chance you're going to pick up on something like that if you're in an unfamiliar place. It works into that increasing your awareness when you ground. And keep in mind, nothing can hurt you or harm you unless you let it and you allow it to. You're not in danger. But if it makes you uncomfortable, then that's your soul telling you that it doesn't want to be there, and you can go somewhere else. That's perfectly okay. If you insist on trying to ground in a place that you feel uncomfortable in, your soul's going to recognize that you're uncomfortable, and you might have to fight off some conscious fear. Even if you don't have anything to be afraid of, it's a human nature to be afraid of what you don't like. And it's possible for that to be taken advantage of. So unless you feel really, really confident in your ability to shield, which is what we'll be talking about later, then just get up and move and find your own space again. But you have no reason to worry. So it's all about finding a place that you feel safe and comfortable. That's what makes grounding so amazing. Is the way it makes you feel. Are there any other questions? Okay. Um, if there are enough of you that are interested in trying this in a practical setting, if you'd like to try grounding as a group, maybe for your first time, or want to be walked through it or talked through it, we can at another time set up a session just to do that. It would only take 30 minutes. I'll just get you guys started and get you used to the feeling, because it's kind of new and weird the first time. And I'd be happy to do that. Just walk you through your first time trying it. I know a lot of people in here have done it already. If you'd like to come in and help on something like that, then we can do that too. Okay. So I think we're ready to move on to shielding, which is something we like to connotate to grounding quite a bit, because the two are connected. As I said, grounding, if you ground often enough, you're increasing your awareness. True. Okay. When you ground, like I said, when you ground, you're going to increase your natural awareness. That's just something that's going to happen. And like I said, a lot of people get overwhelmed by what they're feeling for the first time. And so learning shielding while you're doing this is always a good idea. Shielding is something that seems more, it's a more practical type ability, as in it's something you're actually physically doing. You're not existing. You have to set forth a part of your energy to actually perform this deed. And it doesn't, it's not difficult. Okay, shielding is something, again, that humans already do. If any of you have ever been in a situation in your life where you felt you've been too vulnerable emotionally to other people, and you talked about putting up walls so they can't get to you, okay? That's emotional shielding, and that's exactly a perfect analogy to what you're doing when you're spiritually shielding. And the only difference is that when you're shielding from emotion, you're cutting yourself off from your soul is what you're doing. You're choosing not to feel things. You're trying not to feel things, and it's a survival tactic, but it weakens you in a way. Okay? Shielding's the opposite. Shields are more powerful if you connect an emotion to them, particularly emotions that are strong, like love or inspiration. Some people find that anger is more powerful for them, especially because most people, when they shield, they're doing it because they feel like they need to, and there's a level of fear that comes into that, and some find it necessary for them to be so afraid that they're angry enough to shield, and that's just as effective. Shielding can be used against anything or anyone trying to invade your energy. And as with anything that you're trying to do with your energy, and when I say this, I mean, I don't want to call it like a spell. That sounds really witchy. Like you're trying to cast something. I don't want to call it, it's not, I don't want to label it. It's just, it's kind of like a barrier. And it requires the same formula as anything else you're ever going to try and do with your energy. There's kind of a formula to when you want to do something like this. It requires visualizing it, and it requires intending to do it, wanting to do it, and meaning to do it with every fiber of your being. And that's where a lot of people have problems too. If you aren't feeling self-confident, if you aren't feeling enough emotion or strong enough, then sometimes it can weaken your shields, which is why you need to take inspiration from those around you. Your reason for wanting to shield. And, hold on. I'm sorry about that. So you just gotta get to a place where you can feel confident. And this is a hard part for most humans, because a lot of us are naturally insecure. The easiest people that find ways to shield are our mothers. And you hear stories all the time about moms performing pretty amazing deeds for their kids when they feel like their kids are in danger. And that's the same thing. They're taking inspiration for the love from them. If you don't feel like you're cared for, you can take inspiration for those you care about. You have people that you want to take care of. You have people that you help in their lives, and they need you to be safe, and you can take inspiration from that too. And you need that power to tell whatever you feel is going to invade your space that it can't touch you, because you're not going to let it. Okay? You need to, first part is the visualization. So, and this is going to sound it's going to sound kind of crazy if you're not into that sort of thing. A lot of people have different ways of doing it. There's some that kind of do the sci-fi route and like make little shielding noises and stuff from the sci-fi movies. Some people visualize like little light shields that they've seen in fantasy movies or something like that. The whole Gandalf in a bubble thing in Lord of the Rings, you know. It sounds kind of silly, but that's a visual thing. Again, it's getting your mind into the mindset that I can do this. I'm going to do this. And you go right into your intent then. You skip past can I do this and go right into I'm going to. And then you just trust yourself to do it. Some people find it easier to have some kind of vocal part to it. If you're feeling like you need to tell something to go away, and that's why you're shielding, it's okay to get as angry as you need to and vocally say, get the hell away from me, and mean it. It can sound mean, you can growl, you can threaten it with every fiber in your being, and it's just going to make your shield stronger. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about trusting yourself and your instinct, letting that emotion in your soul just kind of fill you up. And you'll feel yourself feel stronger. And some people, when they get really, as you progress and get more aware, get more, increase your ability to manipulate energy around you, some people can have any number of shields. Thousands of shields, different kinds of shields. Some people can create tricks and mazes and stuff if they feel like they're being attacked too much. And that's something you can learn to do as you grow in strength. But any shield that's put up because of a sense of emotion is what's going to be your strength. Okay. Emotions, especially because, again, what makes us able to do this, different from any other creature on the planet, is that we're human. And what makes us human is that emotion. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of your anger or your love or your sense of I need to protect, because that's going to make you stronger. Okay, Jenna Clear just said, as an example, a child may see it as a wall built of toy cars with lasers on them. It's whatever makes you feel safe. And that's totally true. Okay? This is especially kind of fun with anybody with a vivid imagination. Because you can make it look whatever you want to. And it is, as Jenna said, it's about making yourself feel safe. And as long as you feel safe, then that's it. You're safe. Nothing can touch you. Nothing can harm you. It's not complicated. The hardest part is just drawing that emotion out of you to be that strength for your shield. And a lot of humans have a hard time doing that because we're taught for a long time to bury that emotion. And don't be afraid of it. It makes you stronger. It makes you human. This is what we do. This is what we can do. And find inspiration in that. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Tali, can you create a shield that automatically hurts the one attacking you? You can. There's a potential moral thing there. Because a lot of people, especially, for instance, somebody who isn't as aware yet but can shield, if they don't know that they're trying to read somebody, okay, because this happens. If you're human, you know, as I said, this is all natural awareness. That's what the group is about, natural awareness. You're doing this already. You just haven't realized that there's a term for it, that there's a method you're naturally doing already. If you're reading somebody, even subconsciously, and they have shields up, just they're more aware, and they have a shield up that tries to hurt whatever tries to pain it, you could, and you're that person with that shield, you can unknowingly harm someone who isn't meaning to invade your space. Okay? You can set rules on your shields, Lemmy, like if you had something you felt particularly that was trying to get after you, that you wanted to defend against, you could set a rule that says in the shield, okay, an entity that wants to harm me, if it comes this close, then I want my shield to do this. And that's really your personal judgment call on whether or not you want to do that. You shouldn't have to. If your shields are strong enough, it shouldn't be able to come close to you anyway. And this is strictly shielding. This isn't the offensive part of trying to learn your abilities. There shouldn't be a need to, but you can set that rule. Yeah, I kind of figured you would. Troublemaker. Shields are most useful to anybody that deals with ghosts or poltergeists or spirits, anything of that entity nature, because they don't follow the same rules we do about timing. Time means nothing to them, and if you have a natural ability that you see them more often, or they can communicate with you easier, they may try and wake you up in the middle of the night. They may try and talk to you while you're in the middle of a conversation. And a lot of people I know have shields that are specifically with the rule that if you're a ghost and I'm in the middle of a conversation, don't interrupt me. And you can do that too. Any number of rules. And it's not any trickier building a shield with rules than it is building one without them. It's just as you're thinking about it, as you're visualizing it, as you're saying either go away or I don't want you here, or just you can't touch me, just think that rule right along with it. And it just naturally, your energy will imbue that right into it. Some people, and this is the next part of it, some people feel something physical when they do this, when they're trying to shield. And it's not, I wouldn't say that it's required. A lot of people get so used to it they don't feel anything, just know that it works. And that's impressive too. Part of what you feel too physically, if you're going to shield, if you feel like you're shielding for a reason, if you're being attacked, and you're getting your emotion and your anger from that, sometimes saying out loud, "Get the fuck away from me," gets you angry enough that you will feel like a tightening in your stomach when you try and shield. And it's not like your stomach is flexing. It's not like the muscles are flexing. It's just you'll feel something somewhere in your core tighten. And the first time I did that, it caught me off guard. And I don't know who else that happens with. And it's not required. I don't think that's any thing that means anything other than that's just how what my body goes through when I do it. Everybody's works a little bit different. We all know humans are the most individual species on the planet. So some people feel it in their head, some people don't feel it at all, but they have this trust in their soul that it's working. That's all it takes. Okay, but don't get caught off guard if the first time you shield out of necessity, you actually feel something. It's nothing to be afraid of. Okay. Um, are there any questions or anybody that would like to share their experience with shielding? I'm going to address breathing's questions first. Uh, can you use a shield to create personal space or ground? Yes, you can. Too. Um, and it's just because, again, when you ground, you want to be somewhere completely comfortable. And if you're in a situation like your previous question about where you feel you get a bad feeling when you're grounding, shielding that area off, it will make you comfortable again. And that's part of what people have to do sometimes when they try and find a way to ground. Just there isn't always, you can't always get to your room, you can't always get to the middle of nowhere. And you never know where you're going to go, where it's going to be already perfectly safe and empty. There's a lot of energy and nothing's going to be completely free just for you to walk in on. And you can. Same thing when you're shielding, just a matter of thinking, I don't want to be bothered, I want this space, nothing can come affect me in this space. That's all it takes. Okay, what if you're shielding against, breaks your shield? So anybody else? I've never had that experience, to be honest. I've never had anything break my shield. I have no reason to believe that you can't continually put up more. And you may every once in a while come across a time where something tries to. And that's when you try and make a stronger shield. And that comes from your emotion. If something is breaking your shield or trying to break your shield, again, it's your human nature to be afraid of that. Because obviously that's something powerful. So you just come back with something just as strong, okay? Even if you have to turn that into anger. Like, how dare you? And let that fill you up. Get stronger. And just throw up another shield. Don't let it shake you. If you have to get into a one-sided yelling match with this thing to make yourself feel stronger, then do it. Okay? Exactly. Reading Spirits just said, fear will consume you if you let it. That's going to be our biggest weakness here, our biggest problem when we're doing things like that. You cannot let fear get to you, because that's what things will feed off of. And you have no reason to fear them, and they know that. But if they can make you afraid of them, then they've won. And you have nothing to be afraid of. The less fear you feel, the more strong you are, and they won't be able to touch you. So use whatever method it takes for you to get past that. If it means thinking about people you have to protect, if it means thinking about people you want to protect or things you want to do in your life, things yourself. There's nothing to be said about weakness when you look to yourself for that strength. I am stronger than this, and I'm not going to let you touch me. Okay? That's all it takes. Use your inspiration. They can't touch that. Nothing else feels inspiration like humans do. That's why it's stronger than they are. And you are stronger than they are. Don't let anything try and tell you different. Okay? Are there any other questions? I'd like to read for the recording for those visiting with us online, either through YouTube or a podcast. One of our members, Jenna Clear, just said, you have to believe in your ability to protect yourself with your shield, and it shouldn't break. Okay? And if your original shield starts to break, throw up another one before it gets through. It is all about your belief. That's how strong you are. You're as strong as you believe you are, and they're as weak as you think they are. And if you think they're more powerful than you, and that's what's making you afraid, then that's what's going to weaken you. And it's exactly as you said. It's all what you feel, and they can't make you feel one way or the other. They can try and make you afraid, but you have that power, not them. That's why nothing can harm you unless you let it, because you have more power than they have. And they'll prey on that fear because it's the only thing they can. Once you master that, there's nothing that can touch you. It's all about self-confidence, knowing that you can defend yourself. And you can. Okay, good point, Euphoric Stork. She mentioned that it's a good note that shielding is good for protection from other humans on an empathic level. Okay. Not all attacks are going to come from things you can't see. Okay. And none of it can. Some of it won't even be hostile. There's a lot of people, a lot of humans. All humans do this. Some learn to turn it off just naturally because it bugs them. But if you've ever been annoyed simply because somebody around you is annoyed and you're feeling their emotion, okay? If somebody's angry and it's making you angry, if somebody has a bad attitude and it's putting you in a poor mood for the day, we've all gone through that. It's something that just comes with life. It gives people, that's where social anxiety comes from. That's where a lot of people have a hard time being in public because of that. You can use shields to keep that emotion from affecting yours. Okay, Jenna Clear just mentioned depression. Depression's a really, really strong one. For anybody who's experienced true depression, it is a hole that you just cannot climb out of. And that will suck down anybody around you. If you are that person with depression stuff, there's nothing you can do about that. You can want to, but trust me, I've been there. I know that you feel like you have little power. You have to find inspiration if you have any chance of getting out of that. Speaking of which, side note, NetSplod is going to be on depression. If anybody would like to get more information on getting over that and dealing with getting that inspiration. But there's a lot of emotion out there, and emotion is the strongest form of energy because it's just pure energy. That's what it is. So if you're having problems with dealing with people that have strong emotions that are affecting you in a bad way, shielding is another way to deal with that. You can set up shields to block that emotion from affecting your own. And when this sounds like it's all mystic stuff that everybody has to train to do, okay? And it's not. All humans can already do this. And I'm sure you've had an experience, if you're listening, that somebody's come around with a bad attitude and you just decide one day, you know what, I'm not going to let it affect me. That's their problem, and I'm in a good mood and I'm not going to let it mess with me. Okay? That's a human thing. We've all done through it. You're shielding. That's what you just did. You just shielded. And you didn't know that's what it was called. You didn't know that there was a method to that. You just did it because that's what humans do. That's part of our ability. So. Alright, Aegis of Dawn just asked, is one able to program a living shield? As in, can one shield be created with a consciousness that will manifest proper control of the shield without the necessity of one's direct control? Okay, Aegis, what you're referring to actually sounds more like a guide, okay? Every human has a guide or 2, some people have a 3. And these are spirit guides that have their own consciousness. And if you can increase your awareness enough to hear them or communicate with them, you can tell them either to have a certain rule that you would give a shield. Okay? Say, hey, can you keep these things off me? Can you block this emotion? Can you do this? And you can tell them to do that, and they will. And they'll have their own consciousness, and they'll do that on their own. But that's a little different than actually shielding. That's a relationship you have with you and your guides around you. Okay, yeah, no problem. And that, that takes a little bit more awareness, because you actually have to be able to feel your guides, which are really different. A lot of people have a hard time doing that because they feel them already, and they think it's themselves because they felt it since birth. If you've ever had that, I'm trying to find another thing that everybody has done that they understand. If you've ever felt like something's telling you to take one street instead of the other, okay, we call that human instinct, and a lot of times it is. But it's human because we have a connection with spirit guides that are telling us to take that other road. And it's like that. We think it's our own subconscious sometimes, and it's just that's our connection with our spirit guides kind of giving us that heads up. And a lot of people have a difficulty deciphering what's them and what's created from the energy around them, which is what increasing your energy awareness will help you decipher the further you get along. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments about shielding? I'm going to touch briefly on the next step of shielding. Okay, this counts as shielding. And a lot of times this is strong but harder to do because you don't always feel like you're strong enough to do it. And I know that sounds contradictory. Shielding other people, particularly loved ones, family members, if you feel the need that you need to do that, you can. Okay? The reason that this shield can be stronger than most is because you're drawing from your emotion and your power, that protective instinct. And that is powerful because that's born out of love, and that's strict, pure, unconditional love that you do not want anything harming that dear to you. And that's why those shields can be the strongest. The downfall to that is because if you think about the technical side of it, you feel like it's more difficult though because it's larger, and you're gonna have to have a little battle with yourself on trusting that you can do it. If you're creating a shield over a great number of people, there's gonna be that kind of fear of what if I can't? What if I can't? It's a lot of people. What if it's not strong enough? And that creates a fear that can weaken your shield. And it's harder to do until you've gotten to the habit of at least shielding yourself strong enough that you are aware of what that feels like, you're aware of how you can affect your energy that way, and that will give you more control to eventually shield multiple people. But but those can be the strongest shields over any number of people, because those are people you care about, and you can draw strength from that. Okay? And I know a lot of people that talk about shielding want to know specifically about shielding other people, especially if they have families that they feel are in danger. Okay, is there anything else on blessings or grounding or shielding? Okay. By show of ones, if you type a 1, is there anybody that would like to do a group grounding session sometime in the next week? If you'd be interested in doing something like that. That's what we're talking about. Vanden is doing a group meditation grounding session. And we can set that up to do that on a night that we don't have a lesson, okay? We'll set something up for most likely in the evening Eastern Standard Time, probably around 8 or 9. And we'll give you, we gotta find a time sometime this week. Once you pick a day, we'll leave a reminder in the banner about when it's coming up, okay? Yes, Aegis, actually that's what we did here. Aegis just asked would a group session naturally create a group shield. Yeah, we can, when we get everybody in this room and we lock down the room, we do that because that creates a sense of security. It has less to do with not wanting anybody else in the room and more to do with that visualizing and that intent to have everybody in a safe environment that nothing else can get into. And that was a shield. That was a group session shield, and a blessing at the same time. And if we are doing a group session on grounding, we'll specifically purposefully shield that too, because when you have that many people ground together, sometimes it can create a beacon and draw attention. So it's always safe to do shields, which is why we do that when we do our lessons here. Okay, so we'll pick a day. We'll put it in the banner and on the website, www.nawsk.com, so everybody has enough heads up of when we're going to do that. Okay. In the meantime, feel free to visit the site. If you're joining us either on YouTube or podcast, our next lesson is going to be... Hold on, totally just forgot. Oh, there we go. That should have been easy to remember. Our next lesson is going to be more on grounding and increasing awareness. This will be specifically dealing with things you might experience for the first time if you're purposely increasing your awareness, and how to deal with those new sensations, those new interactions, and then how to purposely practice to become more aware in time. Okay, it's usually a gradual thing, so you'll experience it a little bit at a time, and there's ways you can purposefully try and increase that awareness. And that's what we'll be focusing on our next lesson. Okay? So I want to thank everybody for coming to the lesson. Be safe. Thank you everybody for coming in. If there's no other questions, then I guess we're done. Feel free to visit the website, check out our blog. We'll do something on, next blog will be on depression and being jaded and how to avoid that, how to prevent it, how to climb out of that. Okay? This one's particularly dear to me because I've had to go through that myself, so be happy to help in that aspect. I'm not answering that. Whoever's recording, let's cut that part out. Okay? Alright. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next lesson and whenever we do our group grounding session. Okay?